come on to them. Just to point out, all of these images that I'm going to show you are from NASA's published websites, and I've got the reference numbers for the images which will be put on the screen so you can look them up yourself from NASA's website. Now the first one we're going to look at is a Curiosity rover image, image number PIA 16204. We'll put the whole image on the screen there, and you can see I've got a little red square marked at the left hand side of the screen there, because some of the evidence in these images is quite hard to see when you look at the whole landscape. But let's just zoom in to that little area that I've highlighted there, and what do we see on the screen there between these two rocks?
Well, there appears to be a small rodent in the picture.
Right. Well, in my opinion, that's some kind of rodent, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen this picture before, actually, before we had this conversation, and it is very strange that you see that image and you think, well, is that just a chance, you know, line of sight effect that we're seeing, or it really does look, as you say, like some type of lemming, or...
See, I originally found it in a video on YouTube, I think by Monty Williams. He thought it was a prairie dog, but if you look closely, it's not a prairie dog. I came to the conclusion that it was most likely a lemming. That's the closest match. And interestingly enough, one of the places where NASA test or claim to test and develop their rovers is in the Canadian Arctic, at a place called Devon Island, a 300-mile long deserted Arctic island, with a 23-kilometre meteorite crater in the middle of it, and there are indeed collared lemmings. It even looks like the right subspecies of lemming,
right, with
a tiny mark on its collar.
It's very, very unusual.
Lemmings have tiny little limbs, because they live in such a cold environment. They have tiny little limbs. They can kind of curl up in their own fur, and indeed in the photo you can't see any limbs.
Now, one of the rovers was tested. It is known that they've done tests on a place called Devon Island.
Yes.
This is the largest unpopulated island in the world, very, very remote, but one of the creatures which is resident on that island and seen regularly is the Arctic lemming. Yeah, and there's we've got a picture of one on the screen there. So are we looking at, in the Mars image, a picture of a lemming on Devon Island? Well,
this is the question that we need to present ourselves with, don't we? And I mean, that, say, Devon Island is northern Canada, isn't it? So it's in that sort of area, so it is very remote.
Let's have a look at this next image. Again, well, I'll give the reference 0109 MR 0684022 000E1 NASA image, and just to the right hand side there, if we zoom into that.
Well, again, it wasn't me who initially spotted it. It was somebody on YouTube saying that it looks like a backbone, like a line of vertebrae, some kind of marine species, probably.
Clearly, it's some sort of vertebrae. That's not a random rock formation, in my opinion.
I would agree with that, and I've shown that image myself in one or two of the presentations that I've done. Yes.
Pretty difficult to describe that as a random rock formation.
Yeah, exactly.
How would an image of a vertebra work itself into the Mars images? Well, again, perhaps it is somewhere like Devon Island where they've tested some of these rovers. A whale that's been beached, or one theory is that we get what are known as walrus graveyards, where hunters will come and kill a load of walruses, and they'll take the tusks and all of the stuff that they want, and then they'll just leave the bodies to rot. So you'll get vertebrae lying around the ground, as we see there. And we see here on the screen a picture of a whale skeleton. So we're not biologists, so we haven't really identified what type of creature the vertebrae is from, but certainly pretty conclusive to me that that's some animal that's died, that's been on Earth.
Right, and I mean, you know, this brings us to the point of there are a number of these images, and we're going to come on to some more. So we have two alternatives, really. Either we're looking at images from Mars, and Mars once had creatures, you know, like whales, like walruses, going around in its oceans or seas or whatever. Or we're looking at images from the Earth, which are purported to be from Mars, and either of those two gives us a problem with the official story of what's going on.
If you look at the lemming, it would say it has to have the life the same as Earth now.
Atmosphere, yes,
How can a lemming exist in the Martian atmosphere with what is it, less than 1%?
Minus 73 degrees centigrade or whatever.
So
there's a few other remarkably bone-like rocks that have turned up in the photographs.
Well, let's turn to that one, because we've got that one next.
The best match I could find was walrus bones.
So Douglas Gibson has actually suggested that this bone on the surface of Mars is actually a walrus arm bone.
But that walrus forearm definitely seems to be the best match.
Right, so you think...
But if anyone knows more about sea mammalian bones, happy to be corrected.
Yeah, we can see the image there of a walrus skeleton. It does look very similar to some sort of arm bone of a sea creature such as a walrus.
It does, and I mean that particular image I'd not seen before I saw it in your document, the one of this. It does look like a bone, you know, a hip bone or a thigh bone or something, or the walrus equivalent of whatever they would call it on a walrus. Yeah, yeah, very unusual.
If they are faking it, they would have to do it in extremely remote parts of the world.